Kerry from In the Girls Corner, and I am here with Andy Main. I'm so excited to be speaking to you. It's been such a long time. You own Pure Mixed Martial Arts. Andy Main is a second-degree black belt.
Yep.
Okay. Under Hensa Gracie, Ultimate Fighter alum. I could speak on and on about your accolades. Pancrease champion, 145 or 135?
45.
Ah, that was so close. So how is everything? It's been since Bellator in Long Island, I believe. It's been a long time. How's everything been?
Honestly, all things considered, I really can't complain. I wish I could be fighting. Unfortunately, I've been dealing with a lot of injuries. I had a couple injuries leading up to that fight and the fight at LFA just before that. And then that fight was the first time I ever got knocked down in a fight. And I was like, you know what, take some time, rest up, let my head heal, and then also let these other things heal. But unfortunately, it's gone the other way. I realized, some of my injuries have been a lot worse than in my spine in particular than I thought they were. So I've just been out for a while. But other than that, like I said, all things considered, things have been good. My wife and I had a baby last year, so that was a lot of fun. Or that is a lot of fun. The gym thankfully bounced back from the closures, and we're as big as we've ever been, bigger. And just staying busy in whatever way that I can, and staying active in training and martial arts and everything else as well.
That's awesome. I saw you had a baby. I was going to say congratulations. That's a gift in itself, and had to have been a blessing through everything that went on, the shutdowns. And, people don't realize when you're not only your career, but your passion gets taken away. And literally you're told you can't do this, or, because you're not doing that. It's really, really sad. And I have the same opinion as you. I didn't, as a journalist, I could have gone to fights and, said, well, get me in the back door, and, done it that way, or gotten a fake card. And I don't want to do that. And I don't want to go get tested, for a 3-day event. It's just crazy. So I said, you know what, when they start normaling out again, which it's looking like that's happening, then I'll start, going to fights again. But I feel you, it's hard. So I know you've been going through that, and you're not far from us. I'm in New York. You're in Pennsylvania or New Jersey?
New Jersey.
Okay. So yeah, it's not very far, although they didn't go full on what New York City did.
Right. Yeah, no, it's been, it's been a juggling act with the businesses. Listen, like I kind of respect the attempt at doing whatever we can do to try to, keep people healthy or whatever. But at the same time, I guess I just didn't realize how easily everything that I've worked for can be just ripped out from underneath me. And that was very eye-opening, where they were basically all of my businesses. Thankfully, I also own the Playabowls restaurants, a couple of franchises, which is like acai bowls and smoothies and things like that. And so thankfully we were able to do delivery and stuff for that. But for my gym, we were closed for months, and they just were like, this is how it is. You have to be closed, and whatever. So all of a sudden I'm like, well, I've been building this thing for literally a decade. This year is 10 years. So a decade, and we were on the brink of going out of business because, we just didn't have a choice. And, at a certain point, you just have to say, well, I guess I'm going to just lean on my rights to survive. And we just opened up, and thankfully things have been fine. We bounced back, and all the restrictions started lifting, and they've ebbed and flowed, but nobody really bothered us after the first few months.
I don't think that they're going to go for a part 2 like they did the first time. I don't think people are going to go for shutting their businesses down for any length of time ever again. When you look at Congress, those people were still making money. The media was still, these people were not stopping their lives. They were just doing stuff remotely, yet we had to shut down everything that we've ever worked for, everything we've ever done. And it's not like we're not paying it back in inflation either. So all that free money wasn't so.
Yeah, absolutely.
And damning for so many people. So
Yeah.
eye-opening.
It was a game of winners and losers, unfortunately. And you know, and like the hard part is that, you know, like the job is not necessarily easy. Like I can appreciate that, where it's like, okay, I have to make a decision based on a, you know, a worldwide pandemic
Yes.
theoretically, right?
Right.
So like I get it, but at the same time, like, you know, what was very difficult for us and for I think a lot of people was this game of winners and losers, where, you know, you didn't give people the opportunity to decide for themselves. You didn't there was definitely no like protocol that kind of made sense, where it was like, okay, like listen, like obviously if you're elderly and high risk, you should probably stay home. But it really didn't come down to that. It was basically like, are you, what was the word they used, you know, essential, right? If you're an essential worker, you I'm sorry, my one of my dogs is
No
barking.
worries.
I'll grab him in a
Annoying.
second.
I bother
But
the
you,
background.
yeah. But if you're an essential worker, you know, or essential business, you stay open.
Yeah,
And then if you were non-essential, you didn't, and you didn't have a choice. You didn't have a discussion. You didn't have. There was no like, well, you know, for a lot of people, we are essential, and
absolutely.
you know, it's like, who's to say what's essential? You know, really.
I'm
So those are the things that I had a major issue with, and mostly in silence. You know, like I appreciate talking with you about it, but the reality isn't. You know, I have people that I talk with about it, but I'm not. I'm personally, you know, like I literally, the guy right next door, there's a my gym, and then there's a 24-hour like regular fitness center. That guy was like in the newspaper on the front lines,
oh,
like
I know who you're talking about.
um
All over the front lines, everywhere. He's like been on the news channels. Ian.
so Ian is South Jersey.
Okay.
There's another guy, Tommy, who he wasn't as big. He was more like local media and stuff, but he still was on some news channels, and basically same thing, just like, hey, listen, like we can do the things that we can do. We can limit capacity, we can, you know, whatever. Like he's like, but you can't say that we're not allowed to make a living. Like that's like asinine. What are you talking about? Like we have to survive. And like, granted, you know, okay, the government, again, like you said, the government, you know, did their bailouts in the form of stimulus, but like, you know, that's not really how it should have been. It's like that's kind of that worst case scenario. You know, you don't disrupt the economy like that, and then whatever.
Absolutely.
But again, those are all just opinions. But as far as like from our perspective, it was very frustrating of this, like, well, listen, like, sorry, you're not essential, is essentially what you're saying. You're like, you're not the winner of our pool of who's essential. And a lot of them don't make sense. You know, it's like liquor stores are open, and you know, fast food joints. It's like, okay, like I understand grocery stores, but fast food
Yes,
joints, why
points
are fast
because I
food
have a gym. And
yeah, fast
it makes no sense. That was
yeah,
my argument from the beginning. The only sense that I saw in them keeping liquor store open, and it didn't happen until 2 days ago. I was like, oh, as an ex-addict, I never
yeah,
even thought about that. And my stepmom was telling me, they were talking to a lot of the county guys in Long Island. They know a lot of the political people. And
hmm,
a lot of them were very, very worried about people going through DTs that are severe alcoholics. And
yeah, absolutely. Well, like, you know, and my opinion is not that they should have been closed.
no,
It's that they should
everybody should have the right to choose.
right, exactly. You
You're
have the right,
stay at
and you know,
home.
and whatever the case is, like even if you want to put stipulations on like what you have to post up, like I understand, like if you're like, hey, listen, like, you know, you guys are doing wrestling, you're on top of each other, like this is very high risk activity. You know, put a big sign on your door that says, you know, what this is, and you are taking your own risk, which we did anyway,
Yeah.
right? Because like obviously for liability purposes,
Yes.
but you know, like you put that out there, and then you make decisions for yourself, and
Some of the
then
cleanest places too. You guys are very diligent about cleaning gyms. So it just baffled me, in my personal opinion, from being, involved in mixed martial arts and so many different industries. Zero of it made any sense. And I said, you're shutting down businesses that are going to help people. And clearly it proved where they were saying that like comorbidities with obesity and stuff. Oh, so we were all right. And, working out outside was a huge thing too, also. And there's just so many things that it was just so invasive on your personal freedoms, where if they just gave everybody the choice, like right now, they should be saying, listen, if you don't feel like you want to be out in the public without a mask, wear one. It should be your choice at this point. And also with everything, it should just be a personal choice.
Right. No, there's a, and that's, it's unfortunately become, a large, like the conversation has, I shouldn't say the conversation, the narrative,
There,
that the narrative of what people think the conversation is has become my side versus your side, which is like, well, if you have the people who still think that, like, if you don't wear a mask and don't get vaccinated, you're killing somebody else's grandma, which is, not even like the experts are saying that anymore. You're no more dangerous than anybody else,
yes.
really, as far as that concerned. If you don't have symptoms, if you have symptoms, you stay home. That's always been the
Like
case,
anything else.
right? So but I think the reality is that, just like most other controversial topics, is that you have most of the people having the real conversation, which is like, yeah, we should probably take some precautions. We should probably address this thing. We should probably think about, like, let's get the real numbers. Oh, if you're young and you're healthy and you're, eating right and you're sleeping right and all these things, you're very unsusceptible. Oh, where are there a large congregation of those people?
Yeah.
Gyms. So it's like, okay, like and I'm not saying like there's necessarily like you have the conversation, but the real conversations are being had like in-house, like, hey, well,
Mhm.
should we be doing this? Should we be limiting classes? Maybe we should. But the idea that we're just gonna outright, oh, okay, there's, a few people have come in, you know what, let's just with that tested positive, let's just close for a week. Let people make decisions, and if people make bad decisions, people will stop going to those places and the market will work itself out.
Yes.
And that's what I think most of the country believes in, no matter what anybody says. But those aren't the people that are the loudest. They're like me. They're just kind of going to, be the, I think it's called the gray man, where it's like, look, like, I'm just going to do my thing. I'm going to hope that nobody bothers me. And I'm just going to, because it's, for me, it's about my family. Like, I don't need to be I've been on TV. I don't need to be on TV anymore. Like, like I'm happy to put my opinion out there. If somebody asks me, I'm happy to speak with somebody like you. And I've never lied about it. I've never been like, oh no, like, I'll say what I think. And I
Yeah.
have people ask me, like, I have people email me and they're like, do you do this? I'm only coming to your gym if you do this. And I'm like, I'm sorry, I don't do that. And I totally understand. You're more than
Yeah.
welcome to find somebody else who does. So I think that it's gone awry in a lot of ways. And now it's this, and not for nothing, it's like, again, it's like you have like your freedom fighters, and then you have your, like, you know I don't even know what you want to call it, the other side, that are like,
I have a
they're
name for them, but
they're the two dissenting voices, and then everybody in the middle is just kind of like, all right, I guess I'm just gonna lay low. And if
who
somebody
wants to
asks.
be canceled? Who wants to be told? I
Right.
mean, for months, my mother literally thought I was a domestic terrorist. So I just couldn't help but laugh, because my picture was shared by Bill Maher, by Samantha Bee, by Vice TV, Vox TV. They were like labeling me everything in the book, but wouldn't say my name because defamation of character. They knew exactly who I was. And I'm sitting there laughing because I'm like, Mom, do you really think that like what I'm fighting for is a terrorism kind of thing? Your rights,
Right.
your freedoms, my niece's rights, everybody. I said, medical freedom. I have bipolar.
Mhm.
Back in the 60s, and it probably even into the 80s and 90s, they used to put people like me away, people like me that had a certain kind of opinion and would be loud about it. I don't care, but that was a fact that they did it. And if you don't get this treatment, then we're going to put you away. So it's to me, a very fine line of medical freedom, and also with girls and women. And, God forbid, they want to say one day, well, we don't like the way that you're living, or you might be a little bit, off, bipolar, whatever. We're going to make you
Right.
take an IUD. And it's just
Right.
a
Right.
very,
Yeah. No, I mean, I totally get that, and it is a slippery slope, and
yeah,
that is where people should be drawing the line on a lot of things. You have your right to work, you have your right to a lot of things. And and each conversation is an individual conversation, you know, like the conversation about medical freedom, you know, or medical anonymity, like
Yes.
anonymity, like, you know, like even like people have asked me, they're like, what are you going to do if they bring vaccine passports or vaccine mandates to New Jersey? I'm like, I will never in my life ask somebody about like I will, there's one medical question that I ask. Do you have a medical condition that we should know about in case you go into cardiac arrest or something like that, because you're doing a, you know, which you don't even have to tell me. It's
No.
just, if you want to tell me, I have you know, it's, but, and I have the AED and I have the thing, like, it's like, that's the thing too, is like, of all the gyms, I'm one of like, probably, if I had to guess, I would say 1 in 100 jujitsu gyms has an AED machine in their gym, and I'm one of them,
Pretty cool.
right? And
That's
yeah,
pretty
because
important.
I can't, like I have a friend who owns a gym who somebody passed away because they had a cardiac arrest, and you know, like it happens, it's unfortunate, and you know, it's not his fault, but at the same time, like that person, the nurses at that hospital said, like, yeah, if they had an AED, probably would have survived. You know, like I don't need to hear that twice.
No.
So I do everything I can. We do the fogging, we do the disinfecting, we do we do all the things. We have the AD, we do everything we can to reasonably protect the people that train with us. We actually have an in-house medic, you know, like, so we have a medic who's on staff, and like he's not there all the time,
Yeah.
but he advises, and he's, you know, like we do everything. Now, not everybody has to go to those extremes.
No, but it's smart.
Right. But the point is that like I've made those decisions for myself and my company and my gym. And it's like, because, but I will never ask somebody about like what vaccines they have, what medical history they have, beyond just, you know, hey, if you want to share with us something we should know, like that.
General safety stuff.
Yeah, you know, and it was amazing. Like most people again are like, yeah, that makes sense. And then occasionally I get somebody who would be like, well, but like, what about the rest of us? And I'd be like, well, what about the rest of you? I don't know what you have. You could have a bloodborne disease right now. I don't
I
know
was
about it.
just going to say that. Did they disclose if they have hepatitis C?
No,
No,
right.
nobody's
Like,
going to walk
listen,
up to you and be like, BTW, you know, it just,
right. Like we have a basic protocol. Like if you bleed, you get off if you start bleeding, you get off the mat. And, you know, but like you listen, you take risks every single day. You know, every time you get in your car, you take a risk. Every time you know, walk outside on the sidewalk, you take a risk. You know, like you take risks. You are walking into this gym, you're taking risks. That's why you have to sign a waiver, right? Everybody that signs a waiver. That
I pulled my lat and I had to literally pull my arm out like just to get, it was popped out, and I put my arm down and it sat on it. And I was so freaked out. I was like, oh, fuck. I thought it was my shoulder again. And I just kind of like reset it myself. And I said, I was afraid to go to a hospital because they'll just bang it around. And next thing you know, oh, you need surgery again. No, I did it myself. Very cool, calm, and collected in the corner. However, they were like, listen, if you need to go to the hospital, whatever. I'm like, no, I'm good. I'm not going to sit there, go to the hospital right now. But it was, everybody was very like, you know, on top of it. And what can we do? I'm like, nope, I'm good. I'm going to go and fix it myself, you know, but it's you want to be in a place that you know that you're safe. And let's face it, if you're in a mixed martial arts, Brazilian jiu-jitsu gym, whatever, there are people that have been injured and have had injuries. So you're around the right kind of people, you know what I mean? And you're around the people that you know, you're not trying to kill each other. You're really training, or at least me, I'm 43. I'm not training to like hurt my friend. We're training to have fun and to get better at what we do. And I love it.
And at the end of the day, you understand that there are risks that you're taking.
Yes.
You know, that's the whole thing, is like, and everybody understands that
by walking in the door
on a fundamental level. So this is the first time in history, well, not in history, but in my lifetime, in my professional lifetime, since I've been an adult and own my own businesses, that like this is even a conversation. And I get it. I get it. There's something that's different in society as far as the pandemic and things like that. And I get that. I understand that. But there's multiple layers of the conversation, but they're not being had. And it's like, you know, it's sort of like, okay, yeah, like medical freedom, or you know, mandate everything.
Yeah.
It's like,
oh yeah, well, what about putting a breathalyzer in people's cars? Because I'm sober 14 years in 2 weeks, and I've done a very good job at not killing somebody else, myself, or ending up in jail. But there are other people that I see all the time that talk about, oh, you should, one of my friends, you shouldn't receive medical treatment in a hospital if you don't have a vaccine. Who does drink and drive? And I'm like, well,
right.
you shouldn't be allowed to have or operate a vehicle because you're putting my safety and everybody else's plus yourself at risk every time you get in the car like that. And she did that night. So it's like,
Right. Yeah, no, oh, exactly. And in that conversation, you can go multiple layers on that conversation. You
absolutely.
know, it's like you want to, if you want to, because now you're going down the road of a social class um, uh, rating system,
Yeah.
which like China already has.
And
You know,
Canada's doing it too.
yeah. So it's like if you're like, okay, well, if the vaccine, you should be denied medical treatment if you don't
Yeah.
have a vaccine. It's like, okay, well, what else? Smoking,
Nazi talk.
like
Yeah.
a certain level of obesity,
I was gonna say the same thing.
exercise. Like, should we have to all log our exercise? And do I get extra points since for the first 30 years of my life I exercised 3 times the amount of a normal
We get
person?
3 points because of that. Like, do we get points just because to sign up for that because we've already done all the work? Like, what's
Right. It's like my heart's just probably but that's what I'm saying. It's like that's such a broad scope conversation that like can't possibly be had, and you
yeah?
can't, you just can't do it. And yeah, I could go down the road on that one, but
Yeah, that we are and we have to because of what's happened at this point. That I feel like we owe it, like in general, to have these conversations, and it's so nice to be able to talk to somebody about it because we owe it to. I don't have any children, but I have nieces, and we owe it to them to not let this happen to them and to say, you know what? Okay, if anything, this shows. I know people that are going to work sick because they tested negative for COVID. Well, congratulations, you're still sick. You went to the doctor for some reason. Why don't you just stay home?
right.
Maybe
Exactly.
this will teach us
Exactly.
better.
Exactly. Like common sense. Like I make this joke all the time and I feel bad, but with like some of my friends, but I'm like, listen, like my government's not my daddy and it's not
Yeah,
my doctor. It's not, like I'm not some like child to the government. Like they don't just tell me if I can go in or not. Like I'm an adult now. I make a decision. Yeah, I'm sick. I'm going to stay home.
yes.
I'm not sick. Okay, I'm going to go to work. If I start to feel like shit, I'm going to go home. Like I'm going to make those decisions. And if you go in, you see somebody who seems symptomatic, then stay away from them.
Yes.
Like I don't know, or you put your mask on. Like, listen, I've been to country. I fought in Japan for
Yeah,
4 years,
same thing.
and they've been wearing masks forever. It's not a big deal. And some of them wear masks and some of them don't. And if you want to wear the mask, you wear it. It's not like I don't and nobody cares. It's like, okay, cool. Like that person's wearing a mask, that person's
Yeah.
not. Like, they want to protect themselves.
Yeah, it doesn't
That
bother me if
that
somebody else
person's
is
not.
wearing one. It's not going to hurt my feelings if you
Exactly.
have the mask on. It's at the end of the day, I don't think people should drive with them on. I think that's what's causing a lot of accidents more than anything I've ever seen in my life. However, it's, there are countries that I think it's Korea and Japan that people that are sick wear them to not spread their sickness to other people. Well, I get that theory. I can understand that, but stay home if you're sick. And, if we lived in a society where we weren't bystanders, and I say more, not we, other people, because I try so hard not to be a bystander, where if somebody I know is sick, my friend had COVID. I'm like, do you need me to grab something from you from the supermarket? Would you like me to go and run an errand for you? And she's like, really? And I'm like, well, you're sick. You're going to, you're stuck at home. You don't have a boyfriend. Would you like me to help you? And I mean, why shouldn't we be doing that for people?
Right. Well, because the people that, the narrative is not that, and if you're going to have the conversation, if you're not going to have a conversation about like reasonable expectations of people in general, and that just, you just shove mandates and expectations down people's throats. I shouldn't even say mandates because there's not mandates everywhere,
No.
obviously, but it's just high, expectations. And there are, there have been like executive orders in terms of like closures and things like that. So you're taking people's freedoms away and you're putting it in the hands of the government. That is what's happening, no matter, in some capacity, in various ways, in all different parts of the country, except for Florida. So,
except for Florida. Absolutely right. The only place Hector Lombard and I had a conversation 2 days ago. I'm like, oh, you're in the most freest state. He's like, where are you? I'm like, hell, I'm in New York. He's like, Long Island. Luckily, I'm not in the city. I'm very blessed to be on the island. We're on our own little bubble out here. Like when people are like, "Oh yeah, we got to wear," I'm like, I don't see like it's been since the beginning.
Yeah, I'm actually cornering guys at Flex Fights next week in Long Island. I'm not looking forward to that drive.
Yeah, it's what is space at the space maybe?
What's that?
Space in Westbury? Oh no, you're gonna be going out to Smithtown Hop Hop. Oh, that's a bitch. Because you're from
I don't even know. Is it far?
Yeah, it's not.
I'm like, I told these, I'm like, I'll do this one, but I'm like, I don't think I can do this a lot. It's just so far. It's like it's not that far, but it's far. It's
a hike. It's a hike. I mean, I'm 20 minutes from where it is. Maybe I'll head down there, but it's definitely it's not the closest place for you. And I can understand because there's fights in Jersey that now I'm like, well, fuck it, because Jersey's open. I want to go. It's been 2 years since I've been to a live fight. It is killing me. Training is great, and I train with Matt Frivola sometimes, and a bunch of Sarah's guys, and some guys from Bellator and shit. So it's cool, but it's not the same as going and sitting and watching it, and getting to record everything. So people don't understand when I hear people that are, say, teachers or nurses or whatever, have the conversation that it took everything away from them. Like this took something away from everybody. Everybody's been, there's not one, well, there are people that haven't really been affected, but those are the people that, we don't have that privilege, but most regular people in one way or another have been affected greatly. And I just hope that we have all learned so much for it. And on to the other topic, what I really want to speak to you, I'm so excited about, because the vegan thing with Eric Adams. Now, I know there's a major difference between vegan and vegetarian. I tried to do the vegetarian thing once years and years ago, but I do enjoy meat once in a while. I eat more of a vegetarian diet sprinkled with meat, if that makes any sense.
Yeah. So you're mostly plant-based.
Mostly plant-based, and I feel way better when I don't eat foods with preservatives in it. Yeah. So I do have that where I want to eat, and I do eat generally pretty freaking healthy. I drink chaga mushroom tea mixed with frankincense and myrrh water.
There you go.
I'd like to say that I, want to go, eat whatever you want, but I eat generally, I like to feel good. So I understand where he's coming from. Now, what is it like having a 14-year experience with this?
So first of all, I can't imagine even going back to meat. The way that I started, so there's kind of multiple layers here. So one is that the reason I started originally was I just wanted to try, see how it made me feel. It made me feel good, but it wasn't like, okay, and it was vegetarian, it wasn't vegan at that time. So that was like, 14 years, so yeah, like 18, around like 17, 18. I then got sick and I was unable to digest meat for like a few weeks. And I was so like turned off to the taste of meat and like just everything about meat that I was like, I can't eat meat at all. And then that's when I was like, you know what? I felt good anyway. Let me try vegetarian. And I went fully vegetarian. And then once you kind of start like, especially like as an athlete, you always kind of do things to the extreme, right? Like, or not even as like a professional athlete, but just in general, when you're like in tune with diet and in tune with that kind of stuff. So like you start doing a lot of research, and then of course I land on these sites that you're watching, just like the horror of the commercial, meatpacking industries and production industries and things like that. So then I was like, if I ever go back, I'm never gonna eat commercial processed meat. If anything, I'll do the home raised local farm thing. But ultimately I didn't. Ultimately I just kept shifting away and away and away. And I basically went fully vegan. I went fully raw vegan for a while because I wanted to, again, it was more of like a test. Like, again, athletes do everything to the extreme. My dog is now playing with a ball. Hey, come here, get over here. It's like he
I
chills
test all that stuff to find out what suits your body, what you feel good with, what
Yes,
makes you
yes.
perform at your optimal, your optimum. And it really, you should optimally want to perform at everything you do.
Yes. So, well, there is, yes. So there is that, and that is a major part of it. And then the other side of it, you do kind of, like the longer in it, you do start to think about those things with regards to animals.
Yes.
And, and I think there's a lot of different ways to look at it in terms of, I don't think there's any justification for the commercial industry, meat industry or dairy industry at all. Like, I don't like, if you, it's like, I'm not the vegan that's like, oh, like, if you hunt this and that, like, I don't love it. I don't love the idea of killing animals at all, but I understand that, like, for thousands of years, hundreds of thousands of years, people have been hunting animals to survive. Like, it gets a part of the food chain. But this, like, creating this environment of basically,
Inhumane.
it was not just inhumane. I mean, it's a,
You eat a stressed out piece of meat that's literally what they do to these animals. You're putting that energy in your body.
yes, yeah. So there's the diet side of it, there's the ethics side of it, and there's everything else. So, but what I will say is that, so, like, it takes time for your body to adjust no matter what you're doing. And for me, I went fully raw vegan, but I wasn't paying attention to all the little vitamins and minerals and everything else. And I didn't know, like, omegas are difficult, vitamin D is a little bit more difficult, like all of these things. So I crashed, and then I came back. I went back to eating dairy. I added dairy back in, and then I kind of found my balance. And then for the past, like, I don't know, 10 years, it's been, I would say, like, so you're mostly plant-based, you're mostly vegetarian. I'm like mostly vegan. Most of the time I eat vegan. I try not to include dairy. I don't eat any meat at all, any meat. But I, right now, I eat a little bit sometimes. Like, if my wife makes it for herself, I might have a piece,
Okay.
just to see how I feel one way versus the other. But I'm also trying to get back to basically completely vegan, because I always felt better. Like, even if, like, I didn't feel necessarily bad eating fish or bad eating chicken like I did with red meat, but I definitely never felt as good as when I was very whole food, balanced,
Yeah.
plant fully plant-based diet has always been my highest performance. My energy level was through the roof at that time when I was training and fighting. And again, I don't know, like, that worked for me, and I'm fortunate that it worked for me, because there's a lot of people, like, I've had people that are like, I went vegan, I felt like shit. So, like, I don't know if it's because they didn't figure out how to work a whole food diet. And when most people tell me I tried it and then it didn't work, they're not people like you that are they're in tune with their diet, they're in tune with training and working out. They're kind of just people that are like, well, I tried it and I felt like shit and then I stopped. It's like, well, yeah, like, have you ever gone from, like, eating a shitty diet, eating potato chips and burgers and
Exactly.
all that shit, and then eating clean, no matter what it is, you're gonna feel like shit first,
Absolutely. Your body's
like,
always
you
getting
you
rid of the
just you
crappy
just said,
stuff.
that you were, recovering alcoholic. Is that what you said?
I recovering. You're always recovering.
Okay.
I do say it all the time, but
Yeah.
I never have any urges, which is great, from
Yeah.
alcohol and drugs. The only thing
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
ever given me a problem was marijuana.
Yeah. Yeah. So, well, but the thing is like, I mean, it's like the simplest thing in the world, really, when you think about it. It's like, would you tell a person who's addicted to drugs or alcohol that, they shouldn't go off drugs or alcohol because they're going to feel like shit first? You
Exactly.
know what I mean? It's like, it's going to feel like shit. Your body's adjusting.
Terrible.
Your body doesn't like to adjust,
Exactly.
at first, and then it adjusts, and then it gets used to what you do, and then you have to try to eat optimally and all those
It is
things.
a 2 week period. Always. It is never there. Like, it's a fail safe that you feel like shit. And I mean, unless you're like really like drinking all day and night, drugging all day and night. Generally speaking, you have a two week detox, and then your body does balance out,
It
and
starts to balance, yeah,
gonna
and
feel
that goes for everything. I mean, and like the idea that that's even like a you know, again, like if you put real time into it and like, you know, you really, okay, well, I tried this and I wasn't getting enough. Everybody thinks it's protein. It's never protein. It's always the other things. It's the iron, it's the omegas,
I asked you, is it the protein, the problem? That's so funny.
it's never the protein. What's
Okay.
that? What'd you say?
Ask you if that was a lack of, was it?
Oh, no, no, no. It's never a problem. Nobody is protein deficient. Like that's like it's like the biggest myth. It's a very big part of the not that you need protein, like you need proteins for like you can't not have protein.
Yeah.
But there's protein in a lot of things that you wouldn't think of. Broccoli has a lot of protein, quinoa has a lot of protein, nuts, butters, like all these things. And then you have the whole like, well, it's not a complete protein thing. And it's like I could go down that road, but
I'm with
ultimately,
you. I know exactly what you're talking about. I'm literally,
yes,
I know what you're talking about.
yes, protein is not and has never been the issue unless you're trying to bulk. Like if you're like a bodybuilder, however, there's ways to do it. There's ways around it, but like yes, an average vegan diet is probably not going to be the best diet if you're trying to, you know, put on mass,
Yeah.
which is a very specific group of people. But if you're just trying to be high performance, it's fine. The issues, it's not the protein. The issues are the other nutrients that are not in that you find mostly in animal products and dairy that you don't get in other things, but you can get them. You just have to be aware of it. Like even like vitamin D.
A lot of sense.
Yeah. Even like vitamin D is something that almost everybody's deficient in.
Yes.
But you have a higher level of being deficient in it as a vegan or as a vegetarian because you also get it from a lot of dairies and things like that. So, so if you're not eating any dairy and you're not going out in the sun, you're going to be extremely vitamin D deficient, more so than even the normal person who's already vitamin D deficient. So you either have to take a supplement,
Yes.
or you have to make sure you get out in the sun. So you have to be aware of those certain things, and then it's not really that hard. But yeah, but that's kind of like the whole like gist of it, where it's like it takes time. I always say 21 days. Like if somebody asks me like, I think I'm going to do it like once a week, I'm like, doesn't make sense. I was like, if you want to see how you feel,
Yeah.
I was like, take time. You don't have to like do it cold turkey right away. I was like, take time to like figure out what you're going to replace things with. Cause that's the other thing is people don't know. They're like, all right, I'm not going to eat meat. And now what am I going to eat?
Yeah.
Well, I guess I'm just going to eat more pasta, or I'm going to eat more rice and like whatever to fill myself up. And it's like, well, yeah, but you're not replacing a lot of what you're getting from meat with those things. So, so anyway, I don't want to ramble much longer, but essentially, you know, if somebody really wants to see how they feel, they need to take some time. But the idea that you might feel like shit at first is a terrible reason to stop doing anything. Like, have you ever lifted weights after not lifting weights for a long time? You feel like shit the next day. Your body hurts. Like that's how our bodies work. It breaks down to build up. It gets worse to get better.
Yeah.
So I'm a big believer in, you know, in all of them. You have to be willing to like go through the hard part to get to the good part. And it's like, you know, all of it. It's lifting, running, everything. It sucks. A lot of exercising sucks, but it makes you healthy.
Oh, I hate hill sprints. They're the devil, but
Yeah.
they're great for your legs and for the ladies. They're, you know, the hill sprints are great. I hate them, but you know, there's certain things like you said, like when I first started drinking chaga mushroom tea,
Mushrooms are fantastic.
it's the best. I love it. And I actually
speaking of where you get a lot of nutrients for as a vegan, mushrooms cover like 90% of them.
People do, and
they're meaty.
They're meaty. They have a texture to them.
Mm-hmm.
People they have such a misconception.
If you've ever had, if you somebody's never had lion's mane mushrooms, you have to get lion's mane mushrooms and just put it on a grill or put it on a skillet. Put a little. It is literally a chicken nugget.
Really?
Yes, it is literally like a chicken nugget. They're the lion's mane is the one that's like it almost looks hairy. It looks like white. And you got to get it, slice it up, put it on a thing, little olive oil. It literally you're gonna be like, this could be a chicken nugget, and I would, you know what I mean? Like, I mean, I haven't had a chicken nugget in 15 years almost, so
Yeah.
in fairness, I could be a slightly off on my, assertion about it,
Not
but
chicken nuggets or chicken nuggets anyway. They're all like, it's like not even,
exactly.
it's
You're
not
right.
even real meat. So it's like,
It could be
whatever.
beans and stuff, but it's delicious. Like if we go to, the problem is they're not always readily available. Like if we go to Wegmans and there's some, they have they're more available now, but if they have some lion's mane, we like stock up on them. I'm like, oh,
Oh, it's hard to find all that stuff. I mean, I have to get my chaga from, I have to order it from upstate. And then, see, that's a lot of, I've been doing the extracting on the ends of that. So
yeah.
I haven't tried any lion's mane or turkey tail. That's going to be one of my next two things that I want to, I just added myrrh into my whole mix of stuff. And everything that I drink is pretty much a body detoxifier. The chaga made my eczema go away that I had, and it's never come back. And I've been drinking it for 2 years, 3 years, never come back. And I tell people all the time, if you're not drinking chaga right now with what's going on, you're nuts. It's an antiviral, it's an antifungal, antipathogen, antioxidant, great for ladies' skin, makes you look young. It has so many health benefits that, like, antivirals, I tell everybody, that's the key right there. Viruses, you're not going to have them, So I don't know if I've had COVID. I've never been tested. I've known people that have tested positive, so I just did the right thing and quarantined and called it a day. But I was sick with a cold both times that people were around me that had it, and it was like a sinus infection. And I do think that it's a big part of that.
Yeah.
And I have O positive blood, and they say that O blood people do very well with viruses. I also know that there's blood types with food diets and stuff. I don't know if you've ever heard of that, or if there's
Yeah. There's the theory of so yes, I know the theory of that. Like it's the, not ancient's not the word,
something.
origins, like
Yes.
the origin blood theory or something like that, where wherever your origin is from, your blood type and your origins, like something having to do with the way that they ate way back. I don't know if I buy into all of it, but I do think that I do think that the reality is just like everything else. It's usually not one size fits all. People,
Absolutely.
respond better or worse to various things. And look, and at the end of the day is like, I'm certainly not one to sit here and say like there's not health benefits to eating animals. I just don't personally, I'm not, like I think that what you're getting from commercially processed, which is most of what you're getting now if you go to the store, is, or like especially if you eat out,
Oh yeah.
is not good for multiple reasons. The hormones, the thing, even if it's organic, like I don't buy into that. And then like you said, like the stress that they're going through their entire life, and then the idea that they're literally created, they're produced. It's not just that they're being killed, they're also produced, they're also mating, forcing them to have babies, taking the babies. Like the whole process is just fucked up. There's no other way to say it. So like that's why if you are eating meat, theoretically, it's like I would it's hard for me to advocate eating meat, but if you are eating meat, it's like you should really be looking at where it's coming from, because I think but I mean that goes for vegetables too.
True. And I was thinking about this summer, a friend of mine was like, what we should do, because I don't like a lot of meat. I only like little. And he's like, but he loves a lot of meat. And a couple of my friends are big red meat eaters. So he's like, why don't we go to Pennsylvania or upstate to a person that not a slaughterhouse, like a person that's what they do. It's not like it's not a production thing, but they raise cows in a very healthy manner, and they literally will like butcher the whole thing for you, but everything is used. It's not like it's just throwaways, and
there is a difference there.
It's about $2,000, but I said, to me, that's worth it. If I'm going to do it, if I'm going to go that route, because I don't trust
and that's the thing, is most people won't, and that's why it's like, I mean, here, like there are things like that I've looked into in terms of like, I don't know if you've ever heard of the kind of the theory with like eating organs for the health of your organs. So like there is like this theory that if you eat like liver, it's good for your liver. If you eat
Yes.
kidney, it's good for your kid. Like I don't know all the all of the liver, all of the organs that you're supposed to eat, but like it sounds right. It's like what the Native Americans did and like all that stuff. Like I'm sure there's some merit to it. But it's like for me, it's like I'm gonna the one thing I think we're advanced enough to do, and that's all. This is also why, like the conversation, like the initial conversation, when you go down like the animal rights like side of it, is like, well, we've been killing animals forever. Everybody kills everybody. It's like just okay. And it's like, yeah, but the whole for me, the whole idea of being a human being is like we've advanced beyond the need for certain ththings that like a lot, like we're not lions. We don't have to,
We overconsume.
yeah, well, exactly. We overconsume. I mean, like everything. You listen. You're not if you grab a shopping cart and you push it like this and you go and that's your hunting is you pick up a freaking thing out of the freezer in a grocery store. Don't give me the like we're primate. We're descendants of lions argument. It's like you're not. Like the lions aren't. They don't get to walk into the thing and get the prepackaged thing. Like you're not that. And it's like that's not.
We don't have their teeth. We're not supposed to, theoretically, and actually scientifically, we're really not. Our teeth are not built to rip meat apart. It really isn't essentially what we're supposed to do. When you look at meat eaters and you look at, herbivores and carnivores, their teeth are designed very differently. And if you look at our teeth, very differently. So there's so much stuff that goes into it. And again, to like, the world's credit where we are, we should be coming up with better ways and different ways. So, I mean, there's so many things that this guy has said that I like. Eric Adams, I like him wanting to test kids as soon as they get into school and school age for either being gifted or having special needs. So they're not waiting till they're like, say, in kindergarten, first grade, falling behind. They know it. They're finding it out as early as possible, preschool, whatever. And then you could design a kid's education, which I think is extremely important because not every kid learns on the same way. And that's why martial arts is so important to do.
Yeah. No, I think, I mean, I could have a whole nother conversation. I don't know if you can hear my baby. She's like crying.
That's why I know. We'll definitely have another conversation.
Awesome. She's okay. I just I don't know what you can hear.
I can't, but if I was gonna say if you have to go, we will have.
No, I'm okay right now. But yeah, I mean, like I have a whole other feelings about the whole education system and stuff like that. I think is definitely beneficial. I think even like when you posted, I don't know that I didn't look into it, so I didn't know if he's like changing it so that's the only option.
Wants to.
Yeah. I don't think that'll happen. I would be very surprised if that would happen.
Like the concentration camp thing will never pass. Everybody's so freaked out. It will never pass. Trying since 2003. It hasn't passed yet. It happen.
But I think if there was like, because here's the thing, whether or not if you're a meat eater, vegetarian, or fully vegan, no doctor, no nutritionist, nobody other than like these hardcore like carnivore diet guys will tell you that more plant-based is not good for you. So if like they could like, if they want to initiate like, hey, more whole food plant-based into the diet, as much as I believe that vegan is great, vegetarian is great, same thing. I don't think you should be telling people what they have to eat and what they don't have to eat. It's the same thing with the medical thing. Like I'm never going to be like, no, they should mandate, like I think the government should go in and shut down these massive, murder houses of animals. But I don't think that there should ever be any kind of mandate on what you can put in your body, even if it's,
It should be edible and healthy. And I think that's the direction he's trying to go because, I mean, school lunches, from what I remember, horrible. They were generic.
It was pretty bad. Yeah.
So if they made it where it was a balanced meal, and gave them real food, I think that would be a way better direction to go in than what I mean. The snacks, the fucking stupid, snack machine with all of the chips, and I hate to say it, I go to pick my nieces up from school every day, and these kids are not in any kind of shape whatsoever.
I
None.
know. I know. I know. It's
It,
uh it's not good. I mean,
no, it's
the
terrible.
whole food scene in general, and the who, and that's like, I mean, that is what drives me crazy more than anything about this whole, like, even with the response to the pandemic, like, it is asinine that this whole thing and the vaccines, and the government wants to be your doctor, and they want to be your, like, all these things, and like occasionally in very fine print it'll say something like a healthy diet and sleep and this and that may help you, may be beneficial in combating COVID. And it's like, okay, well, how about, like, get fucking healthy?
Yeah,
It's like, hey, like, again, I'm not, don't, you're not
sure.
going to mandate somebody onto a treadmill, but like, the number one thing, how is the number one conversation while people are dropping dead and 80% have comorbidities and 80%, and all these people are dying from heart disease and all these people are dying for all these things, that the government and the media and everybody else is not on there like, hey guys, like, I don't care. You want to say we think you should get vaccinated? Great. We also think that this is the most important thing in the world in general, is for you to eat right and do da, 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 da. These are what's bad for you, and like all this stuff, and like like shove that down people's throats.
Yes.
Like, I'm not gonna, you're not gonna, like, yeah, shove that down people's throats. Stop being unhealthy. Stop eating like shit all the time. Treat yourself every once in a while, but like exercise, da da da, like within moderation. You can't be, you can't be whatever. And like, if that's not part of the conversation, don't give me shit about, don't say, I don't want to hear a word about what you want to inject into my body. Like, that's the conversation that I occasionally have to have with people, where it's like, well, it's, these are the people that are, the whatever, non-vaccinated, that are you're going to become a burden on society and burden on hospitals and all that stuff. And that's like, excuse me, like, where was that conversation for the past 40 years? Why they destroyed the health system? I mean, the general health of the public.
Absolutely. I mean, well, beyond with the opioid crisis, with the health, with the food that we're eating, the diabetes problem, there's so many things that they haven't tried to even help. And then again, you have this come along, and they're like, well, we're just going to force something into you that one, if you, they're literally, and it's as sad as you can get, that there is no information when they open that package of the vial, that piece of paper. There have been people exposing it left and right, where you're supposed to have information. There's nothing. It's blank. I would never put something into my body that has zero information at one. Two, as a human person, if I'm getting a medical treatment done, I'm going to a medical practitioner, not to like Yankee Stadium.
Right.
And I don't need an incentive. I mean, everything that they did screamed to me, not good. It had red flags all over it. And I'm like, if this thing works, why do you need 15 of them? If this thing works, why do you have to offer me like, money? It's just, none of it made any sense. And you're right. Promote a healthy lifestyle. I told them, if this is really bad, I want to see people in hazmat suits picking the masks up off the ground, because they're all over the place in Long Island. Like, make me believe it. Go have between everybody that like is in the stores. You press that little stupid little keypad. I want, clean it. Make me believe that there's something really going on. It's just crazy, and they're not taking any of those measures to be healthy. And I've said to people, you wearing this is not doing any good, when I've touched everything, and I'll like literally touch their whole thing, and I'm like, now what are you gonna do? Clean it? And they don't.
Right.
They don't clean it. I'm like, you just touched the germs. You don't know what they are.
Right. No, I mean, that's been like the story from the beginning, is just
Yeah,
inconsistency, and that's why people are frustrated. And then half the world wants to demonize, because now they're on the team, they got the thing, and it's like,
that's exactly
like,
what.
I don't care. Like, do what you want to do. Like, that's the whole thing. Like, you want to get it, you're comfortable with it, that's fine. Just shut up around everybody else. It's like, you know what? I'm going to go to my doctor. I'm going to have a conversation. I'm going to make a decision. When I got COVID, like, I got COVID when I had COVID, and I had it like, not bad, but bad enough, like a bad flu. And I remember when the doctor called me to tell me that I tested positive. He's like, you tested positive. And I said, okay, what should I do? And he's like, just don't go out. You'll be fine.
Yeah.
I was like, okay. He's
Yeah.
like, yeah, he's like, you're not in a high risk category. He's like, you should be fine. He's like, if you at any point, you start to struggle to breathe. Like, he was very unconcerned because of my demographic. And
Yeah.
again, I'm not saying people aren't getting sick. I'm not saying people aren't dying. I do think it should be taken seriously for the people, particularly for the people who are particularly high at risk.
Yeah.
But like, that's not what happened, and it is what it is. We can go around in circles in that conversation, I'm sure. But at the end of the day, it's just, it's just unfortunate that we're all in this situation now where, like, you kind of feel like you're walking on eggshells, like you are doing this, which is pretty cool. Like, for me, I have multiple businesses,
Yeah.
and like, everybody has different opinion, so like, even like my staff, particularly my younger staff, that um at the restaurants, like, they're much more sensitive to all this stuff. And it's like, there's like one person gets it and then they're like, we're gonna close, right? It's like, I'm like, okay, we got to quarantine, we got to go back to masks. And I'm like, I guess, like, what, like, I'm kind of like at the mercy of like my, because I can't like close. If I close,
Yeah.
go out of business. So
Well, then there's a lack of people that want a job. So it's like you are at that point. It's kind of like you have to
right.
have a happy balance. And it's a shame. And I think things are going to get better. And I really do, because everything that I'm seeing, the scope of where everything's gone in the last, I'd say 2 months, things are going to take a dramatic change in that.
Well, here's the thing. I'm going to tell you what I think, and we can end on this topic. But what I think is that it's already happening, by the way, because the CPI reports are coming out and inflation is out of control. And it's not going to get better. It's going to get worse. And or the Fed is going to start raising rates, and the interest rates are all going to start going up, and the economy is going to start to collapse. And not collapse, but it's going to start to be affected drastically. And all of a sudden, everybody's going to stop caring about COVID. They're going to start caring how they're going to pay for dinner, right? Yeah. So, and the politicians are going to be like, well, we can't keep talking about COVID when everybody just wants to know where they're going to be able to, how they're going to be able to survive financially, right? And that's the conversation that everybody wants to have. And that's now we're going to be playing this team versus team on who, how we're going to handle this. And COVID is going to be all of a sudden an endemic, and what ultimately we all kind of knew it was going to happen, which was that it was going to mutate probably until it was something like Omicron that isn't that dangerous, and everybody's going to get it, and then everybody's going to be mostly immune, and it might just come back in different forms every year, and it's going to be the same thing, right? Probably. I don't know. I'm not an expert, but that's what I think. But I do think that the financial thing is going to.
Oh, it's scary to find it. People are not aware of what's going on financially at the supply chain crisis, the truckers. I mean, I could go on too, because I know so many things. I have a logistic guy that I speak to all the time, and he's like, they're trying to crash the economy. Like, this is all on purpose. This is all by design. All the stimulus checks, you're paying for them right now. And I'm like, oh, I see it. I mean, I've seen things dramatically take a spike, and like they'll secondly take a dip, but then they go like even more. So it's just, I could see things are going to get where you're going to see it could be pretty fucking freaky soon. So I mean, I'm hoping that we're wrong on that. I'm really hoping that like my fighting sensors are not right, and
I don't see how we can not be wrong. Like the government owes an obnoxious amount of money, and they keep printing more money, and I mean, like, maybe supply chain and things like that will get better, and then it'll like kind of slow down the rate of, I shouldn't even say inflation. It's the problem is deflation of the dollar. Like, it's, yes, like prices of things are going up, but like they're going up because in part because of how much money is getting injected into the economy.
Yeah.
So like, it's, if you've ever done supply and demand, like if you double the amount of dollars in the market, and in this situation, and this is the reason inflation has gone up so much, part of the reason is because you have less of the things that you need. So there's more money and less of the things to buy. So there's going to cost more, right? But right now, everybody just got a bunch of money. They got stimulus and they got this and they got that. So they kind of like, they have some money in their pocket maybe. And then, you know, it's like, yeah, it's gone up, but we can all afford it kind of right now.
For now.
But like at some point, that's not like, that is a bubble. That's actually a bubble. Everybody wants to talk about like all these other bubbles. That's a bubble. I don't see how it doesn't collapse at some point. And I honestly don't think it's going to happen here first. I think it's going to happen in Canada, or it's going to happen.
Definitely.
Yeah. Like, can't, like somebody's going to like, they're going to default. They can't, like, they're all going bankrupt. And then
I feel like I just heard that China, but there's a lot of weird shit going on internationally that a lot of people aren't speaking about, because, you know, why do we want to speak about that right now? Because it will eventually come to at the end of the year. When I keep on telling people this, when you see things happen in other countries, you're going to see them start happening, and then it's going to be a snowball effect. So it could be that's going to happen. And then the other wild thing that's been going on that is not publicized at all is the military takeovers of all of these countries, and there's been 5 or 6 so far. And those countries where the military is taking over, they're dissolving the government and taking those countries out of the central banking system, which is extremely interesting. That's interesting, because that puts a whole different, what if that happens? And that's what's a big, you know,
well, there's discussion that Russia's been trying to do that. And if Russia gets to the point, and China kind of, but not really, but like if Russia gets to the point where they're self-sufficient, they are basically their own internal economy. They have everything that they need. They're tight with China. So like, as long as they can do commerce with China, like they literally don't need the rest of the world at a certain point. So what happens, like, even with this whole Russia-Ukraine thing, and Biden is saying, like, okay, well, we're going to do sanctions and you're going to pay and like whatever. Like at a certain point, he doesn't give a shit about sanctions. He's going to be like, all right, like what, like this Putin, he's crazy,
He doesn't care about sanctions either. They both got slapped on the mouth.
And China is going to just do commerce with whoever will pay. Like they don't care. They're not going to be like, oh, we won't do it with Russia. They're going to be like, nah, go screw yourself. So yeah, like all of those things, but that's like bigger. And like, to be honest, I only understand.
That's not really affecting us directly yet.
Not yet, but it might, and whatever. But I just think and here, like, I'm not an economist. Like it's like I read a lot. I mean, I read a lot. I watch a lot. I listen to a lot of experts in the field, and like in economists and different, like I'm fairly big fan of like the world of crypto and like what's happening there. So like people kind of talking about that, and then like I do listen to some of the politicians, and it just like it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense how, like, it feels like we're propped up right now on stilts, and it's like, okay, well, we just had this whole thing. Everybody's businesses got shut. Like everybody's businesses got shut down. Like in the whole country, everybody's business is shut down. There's barely anything on the shelves. Like there's all these things, right? There's all these things going on, but it's just not bad enough, right? It's just like, and it swung kind of the other way, right? Like it almost was like so much money was injected into the economy that it felt like, oh, great, it recovered, right?
Yes.
But like it couldn't have. Like I know businesses that closed down. I know people, like I know places that were like, it was like, this was about to be like a really, really bad windfall. The government propped it with money, but like they didn't actually save a lot of them, so like at some point, and the supply chain thing is still a thing. So it's like, at what point does it just start to roll downhill, and how fast? Does it go from like, oh, things are starting to look kind of bad, it's kind of getting worse, we have time to fix it, or is it going to be like falling off a cliff and then everybody's just fucked
Fighting in the streets? That's my fear, is that things are going to get either really, really bad, or they're going to stay stagnant and they get really bad. I'm hoping I'm wrong. I really, really, really pray that. And I mean, for our kids' sake, and for our, for the future of the world's sake, there's a lot of things that I've watched that there are hope. If there's hope, that's my hope, is looking at all those other countries where the military stepped in, because I'm like, all right, I see a design going, so it could go either way. You could see a split in the world where you're going to see a very, I don't even know what you want to call classist kind of system, what China's doing. And then you're going to see people trying to get out of those kind of systems and be more free in their countries instead of having to pay interest to all of, central banking system and all this bullshit. So I look at those and I'm like, okay, so that could be an option of what's going on too. So it's really right now such a crapshoot, and there's a lot of wag the dog going on. Look over here, don't look over there.
Right.
It's just so much. But I mean, one, it's great to see that things MMA is coming back. At least gyms are opening again. Thank God. You have a lot of great things going on besides the bullshit, which is nice. No,
I personally can't complain. I'm not, especially right now.
Right.
Things are not bad. I had, it was a tough couple of years, but we've bounced back. And the one good thing about being a fighter and being an athlete is like, you're used to doing things that suck.
Yeah.
So you kind of just
taking a hit here and there, right?
You take a hit and you keep moving forward. But I, I don't want to see my friends and people that are, and I see it, I see people that losing their jobs or whatever, all these things. And again, maybe it's unrelated and maybe it'll all be fine. And I could be totally wrong. Like I said, I'll never claim to be an expert on it. I just try to pay attention and I'm a very objective thinker. I just kind of see things as they're happening and I'm like, that doesn't make sense or that makes sense. I don't consider myself that emotional about all this stuff, but I could be wrong. And like you said, hopefully about some of the whatever doomsday stuff we are wrong.
Yeah, I'm really hoping that I just really erring on the side that everything's gonna work out, but it'll be great to run into you at a fight sooner or later, maybe
for sure.
And where can everybody find you? Give your businesses a shout out. The floor is yours, Andy.
Yeah, well, if they're in the Morris County, New Jersey area, Pure Mixed Martial Arts in Rockaway, puremma.com. I own the Playabowls in Denville, Sparta, and Chester in New Jersey. And then if they just want to follow me online at Andy Main, I've been more focused on, offline stuff, but I actually am I'm trying to figure out what kind of platform I want to start to go with, either a YouTube video thing or, a lot of people say, I've gotten a lot of suggestions for TikTok, but I don't think I can bring myself to TikTok. It's cool platform and some people use it. I actually listen to a lot. I learned follow some people that share information.
I loved it until they banned my IP address twice for sure.
Really? Oh, that sucks. Yeah. I know. I didn't really use it too much. I just I'll just see some reels or whatever.
Yeah. Great.
I do want to start building some sort of digital platform backup, or I shouldn't say backup at some point.
Going on Rumble, they just offered Joe Rogan 100
million,
something, 100 billion, some crazy fucking number. Rumble is going to be heads above YouTube, and it's just they're getting better and better. So if you want to get
are they just audio or are they video also?
Yeah, and audio. And Rumble, they do live stuff. I make more money on there with my videos than I do on YouTube, and I've been on YouTube for way longer.
Really? I got to look into that. I actually totally random thing, but I shared the article about them offering Joe $100 million. And my friend reached out who lives 5 minutes from me, and they're like, oh, that's my cousin, the owner of Rumble. Yeah. I was like, really? They're like, yeah. He's like, whatever. And he's like, I said, next time he's in town, I would love to meet him.
That's crazy. That's
yeah.
There's the guy that owns Gab, and I think he's from Pennsylvania or New Jersey, Andrew Torbo, super normal guy that's super techie and put all of his money into his own servers so that he can't be his social media is never going to be taken down. So these people that are doing all this innovative stuff is really great. I also think that Starlink with Elon Musk, there's going to be a lot of wild things that are coming through him with the internet that are like where it's going to be free speech within, like, you're not going to be able to put some really gross things about kids and stuff. You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
there'll be some impenetrable stuff. And I've also heard Gurdon will be, it's GHRIDON, which is, I think, sister people from 8chan. So there's so much going on behind the scenes, and I'm seeing it with like a lot of CEOs stepping down, and a lot of the stocks for these social media platforms are starting to plummet. And I wonder if I'm seeing a trend start. So hopefully that'll be nice.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, I'll look into some of those. Yeah, because I gotta just I mean, I like talking. I like talking about this stuff. I just don't.
iTunes will not take you down. I've been on iTunes for 2 years, and I've said some incredible things on there, and they have never taken me down, which is crazy.
Yeah, that's
Crazy
cool.
that they haven't taken
Look into it.
low man on the totem pole, but they don't really censor you on there. So there's
Yeah.
are some good platforms left, and I can definitely send you so much information on them, because I've been on a mission and search since I got, like, my IP address got banned from Twitter and from Instagram. And I said to my friends, that's not a social media company. That's called an NSA or CIA project, because you can't ban people's IP addresses.
Right. That's crazy.
More than a nerd.
Yeah.
Like crazy. But I hope to see you very soon. It'd be great to see you in the cage one day soon. And
I hope so. We'll see.
I'm so thankful for this conversation, and I'm glad that everything's going great. And we definitely have to have another one soon, Andy.
Yeah, for sure.
Out of your evening to speak to me about everything. It was great.
Yeah, you too. All right, it's good to talk with you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.